Once again, our Minnesota Vikings make us sweat out another game all the way to the end of the fourth quarter against the Detroit Lions, but we came out with the win. We'll discuss that game right after this. Your Minnesota Vikings pull out the last-second 28-24 win over the Detroit Lions. Now, this game was a game where the Vikings had to come back from double-digit points down twice throughout the game. We came out looking like we looked in Philadelphia. Offense couldn't sustain a drive.
Right.
Defense was letting Jared Goff have any throw he wanted on the field. Amon St. Brown was having his way with us to start. That running game was having their way with us. Oh, man, I was thinking we were in for another disappointing 20-something to 7 loss where just our none of the team could do anything. Eventually, obviously we figured it out. Second quarter made a huge comeback, got the game tied, went into halftime tied. Came out of the half looking just lethargic again. Fell down by 10. It was a roller coaster of a game, which we've come to know and love with this Vikings team as of late. But at the end of the day, they came out with the victory. Not super. I actually predicted the score 28-24, but I thought it would be a much prettier game. Like I thought it would be pretty crisp on both sides of the ball. It was not. Detroit multiple times went for it on fourth down.
Right.
We let him have it on the first few. Near the end, we finally started clamping down on him. I think he went to the well too many times on going for it on fourth down. At the end of the game, it did start to it bit him in the ass, obviously. So it's a game that I don't know. Kirk wasn't very crisp. Running game finally picked it up though. Thielen and KJ finally started coming around. Defense still has a ton of question marks. Ed Donatel, you got to get that thing in shape. I'm starting to worry about the defense the most on this team right now, unfortunately. Just reminds me a lot of the Mike Zimmer defenses of the past. But hey, a win's a win. You'll take it. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, a win's a win.
Game?
At the end of the day, a win's a win. Even if it's an ugly win, it's still a win. Obviously, it's not preferable, but I also think we played against a Lions team that is just not the same old Lions. Like they're a pretty good team this year. They're not a bad team like usual. Obviously, they're still the Lions, and we still end up beating them. They pull what we usually do against some other teams is which we always do. That's why I felt confident. That's why I had no doubt in my mind almost this entire game, just because it's the Lions, and we kind of do this to the Lions. But no, besides that, it's just, it's a win. Like, yeah, there's a million things we can say was bad and could do better. And we will dive into them because there is things we could do better. But at the end of the day, like you still won. And, for me personally, like I want to go forward with a win. Like even if it's an ugly win against, and this isn't like a terrible team. It is the Lions, but it's not a terrible team. So yeah, I think moving forward, I think we can move forward with some momentum, especially going against a Saints team next week. That just pretty much got their butt whooped by Carolina, who was not a good team so far. So I don't know. I think we can kind of be pumped up about it. Yeah, I wasn't. You're exactly right. Like we came out sloppy. So I think just the fact that we played so sloppy in so many aspects of this game, and kind of same with the Eagles game where we like the whole game we played sloppy, but then there was just like parts of that game where we were looking good or we had a chance, which in that game we kind of messed up all those opportunities we actually did have. But it just still shows like, man, if we can just put it all together and we're not just such like we're playing 30% of the game on it, kind of like with the Packers, we almost had like a perfect game. To still come up with a victory after that kind of sloppiness, it shows what your team should be, at least in my opinion. So
yeah, I would agree. But again, not always pretty. But at the end of the day, a dub's a dub.
It's a win.
You're going to
we're
take
started 2-1.
2-1. Both your wins coming in the division as well, and that's pretty big.
Exactly.
That's pretty big as well. So
exactly.
You take it. But let's get into some of the stats in this game here. Let's start at the top. Probably, everybody wants to talk about him all the time. So let's start up by talking about him. Quarterback Kirk Cousins, up and down game for the guy for sure. He just, we were texting during the game. Some of his throws just seemed off. I don't know if he pulled a Brucey from longest yard and had too much popcorn before he started playing or what the deal was, but he threw a couple of ducks, a couple of inaccurate balls.
A lot. First quarter, that first quarter was like every throw he had was a duck. He had happy feet. You could, it almost just seemed like he was bringing the pressure and everything that happened from the Eagles game into this game early on.
Yeah. And he did finally start to settle in, obviously, through the 2 touchdown passes, one near the end of the game there. And you got to give him credit for that last drive. It was what did he have? A little over a minute left, no timeouts. KJ stepped up big, Adam stepped up big. Drove him down the field, scored the game-winning touchdown. Defense held up. I mean, hey, we were able to play the same defense we've been playing for the last 2 weeks on that final drive. So that was kind of nice to see. At least we'd practiced it. But yeah. Anyway, so Kirk Cousins, 24-41, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. Adam Thielen finally got involved as well with the other touchdown. So good to see him at the end of the game kind of come back and lead the team down the field to score.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hope to see more consistency. We really haven't seen him play all that. We thought we'd see a different Kirk this season, even against Green Bay, a couple inaccurate passes. He just didn't look like perfectly settled in. Obviously, what happened in Philadelphia and today. But hopefully, this is a type of game that can propel you forward, moving forward, and it's gonna have to happen. You got to tough. I mean, the Saints have been iffy, but you play them in London. It's going to be kind of a weird schedule for the week, so you're gonna need to bring your A game to that one. But again, the last drive, it's a good thing for Kirk Cousins to end on. Hopefully, build some confidence moving forward. And yeah, what are your thoughts on the quarterback?
Yeah, definitely agree. Like I already said, he came out really, really shaky in the first quarter. We gained some momentum in the second quarter, and going into the half, like huge momentum, just to come back out and pretty much throw that all the way, just to get it back at the end. And of course, to see Kirk Cousins, because that was something that was a knock on him prior to him coming to Minnesota, and even prior before last year, something that we actually seen him grow last year was the kind of like a 2-minute drill thing where when the game's on the line, he is actually putting us into position to win. My only problem with it is same exact thing. And I used to mention this last season is I don't want to wait until the last 2 minutes of the game where Kirk decides to throw over 20 yards down the field. Maybe I like a couple throws like that, but also like we need Kirk to play like that right out the gate throughout the entire game and not decide to. Even last week against the Eagles, it wasn't until the end of the game until he started trying to get the ball downfield. Obviously, he was forcing it too much and he was getting interceptions and everything. But I want to see more. He just is too conservative early on. I think that's one of the big issues with our offense moving, because obviously he can do it when it matters. So he should learn how to do it just earlier in the game. And especially with these receivers, like we can't just play 10 to 15 yards the entire time with him passing, especially with his arm and the talent we have on wide or in our receivers. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, Kirk is who he is. I don't think, which is a very good quarterback, but not a guy that is just going to beat teams by himself, really. Not often anyways.
For sure. But and I think part of the reason that passing game was finally able to get open was the running game. Kevin O'Connell said after last week he didn't think he focused on the run enough, and this week that was a good thing about the first couple drives. We did have some really good runs in there, but when it got to the pass game, is kind of when things started to break down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Delvin, 17 carries, 96 yards, 1 touchdown, and an injury, which it's the annual Delvin Cook injury drink. But Alexander Madison, of course, replacing him, did what Alexander Madison does: 7 yards, 28 carries. He also had a touchdown near the end in the fourth quarter there. But yeah, it was nice to see the running game finally pick up again. The offensive line did a great job run blocking, pass blocking. They could be better. I think that was part of the reason for some of the errant throws, like Kirk, the one to KJ Osborne where he was wide open. I don't give Kirk full brunt of the blame. He couldn't step into that one. So, but he was thrown off the back foot a lot, which again might be combination of pressure and just the way Kirk Cousins can be sometimes. But that was a big thing for this team, was getting that running game going, and they did that. There was definitely that emphasis. But yeah, it's nice. 123 yards and 2 touchdowns out of your running game is definitely what helped open up the passing game for 2 of the receivers. Unfortunately, for the third one, which we'll get into in a little bit here, it did not open up for him. I'm curious what's really going on there. But yeah, running game overall, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, the running game is a reason why we won this game, I think. Without the running game, I don't think it sets up anything. Especially how we did really well. And we started off doing it and we started pulling away from the run. Luckily, like we started seeing us come back, especially in the second quarter. And then obviously Devin Cook had the fumble and stuff, which was brutal, but still, like, you knew the run game was working, and it was nice to kind of see that going again, especially when it's been our bread and butter since Mike Zimmer and stuff, obviously. But you got some high talent back there, and then I mean we even got a couple nice CJ Ham plays obviously a lot of fans are a little worried because like, oh, checking, like I think you even sent a tweet out about checking it down to CJ Ham and stuff. But hey, at least you got a guy out there that can kind of be there for plays like that, especially if you do have Kirk Cousins your quarterback and then get us a first down. So it's cool to see him do that. But I think it's been the most important thing of that game. I think is the reason why I won. Another update on Delvin Cook with his injury. I guess he's just day to day. He says he'll be there for next week in the game. So we're good on that because even though Madison came in and still looks really good, but Delvin Cook looked fantastic this game. We didn't see it a lot in the first 2 games, but he was good. I mean, it was looking like same old Delvin Cook up until the fumble/injury. Yeah, I don't know. I hope we keep pushing the run a little bit more going forward. But most importantly, like we're going to wide receivers next. So most importantly, what I want to see more is earlier in the games, start feeding the ball to KJ and Adam Thielen a lot earlier. This is another problem. We talked about it going into last week, talked about it going into this week, that we're hoping that we come out and just start throwing right to KJ and right to Adam. And we were not doing that again. It was kind of go to JJ, go to JJ, go to JJ, which I do get, but it's obvious that teams are starting to get that, and they're putting a lot of coverage on Justin Jefferson, and we can't just throw it to him in this game. And the reason why we won is because of everyone else that wasn't JJ, the run game, and because of Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne. And that's another thing. I think if you go towards them guys early, you should go back to setting the game up for JJ instead of making him set the game up for us. I think that's a big difference, and just to get that pressure off Justin Jefferson so we can get him open more. But yeah, what do you think on the wide receivers?
Yeah, for sure. A big thing, obviously, we talked about. It was nice to see Adam Thielen, especially, and KJ Osborne start getting involved. 5 catches, 73 yards, 1 touchdown for KJ, 6 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown for Thielen, of course, which is nice to see. Yeah, Justin Jefferson, it's weird. Like, and I know Kevin O'Connell, I was listening to it on the radio on the drive home. He did say he's got to find better ways to get him open. But also, people are watching Justin Jefferson, which is a big reason why Adam Thielen and KJ are able to feast like they did today.
Right.
So he's still doing something, but obviously he's going to want those stats and stuff, which eventually he's going to get. We'll figure it out. Again, we got to Kevin O'Connell. He's still new at this. Obviously, he's new at calling plays. Even he's new at being a head coach.
Right.
And you could tell on that. What drive was it in the fourth quarter? Where on 3rd and 8, we did a 20-yard bomb, which I'm just like, well, we did the screen first, then we bombed it on 3rd down.
Yeah.
Some of the play calling to me is still a little bit questionable. But at the end of the day,
he has some good ones, like the Adam Thielen touchdown play call. That was perfect.
Yeah.
So he has good ones, but then there is definitely some questionable ones so far.
For sure. But yeah, and give Kirk credit on some of those passes to Osborne and Thielen. He was ripping the ball to him, which was nice to see. That's kind of what we wanted to see. But I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson's elite. He's gonna get it figured out. Kevin O'Connell is gonna figure out better ways to get him involved. So we'll get all that figured out as well. But again, I think this is just a big game, a sigh of relief that Adam Thielen is still Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne is still talented as well. Let's talk about tight ends. Ben Ellefson looked really solid. Johnny Mundt had a couple nice catches. Irv Smith had one very nice catch. And then, of course, the drive-killing drop in the fourth quarter there, which potentially, I mean, it was concerning. Obviously, at the end of the day, we still came back and won the game. But, man, that drive that drive was killed by the Irv Smith drop. He's got to start. He's got to figure that out. There's so many high hopes for Irv Smith coming into the season. And so far, he hasn't performed nearly close to what was expected. So, I don't know. Hopefully he can figure it out. I mean, the talent's there, but it's just the routine. You got to catch the football. That's
right.
I
don't remember him.
Job.
I don't really remember him having much issues with that. I mean, he didn't get tons of playing time, but before his injury last year and stuff, I don't remember that being a big issue. So maybe it is just because he hasn't been playing for a while. But yeah, going to the defense now.
Yeah, defensively, I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about Ed Donatell and his defense right now. I mean, obviously, there's a reason he's in his 60s or whatever, and he's never actually been a defensive coordinator. But I don't know. It's concerning to me that we're just playing so soft all the time.
Right.
Pass rush really wasn't getting home. Cornerbacks, Patrick Peterson showed again. He's still just not quite there anymore. I mean, obviously, we'll say the same. We say the same thing about him every week. Leadership is what it is, but on the field, he's kind of becoming a liability. Cam Bynum had a holding call he was called for at the end of the game. He's again been really up and down. Give credit, Jordan Hicks I thought played really well today. Josh Metellus, redemption story with the interception at the end there, the one he should have had, which actually made my brother fall on the floor and whatever. His wife was not happy. His wife was giving him funny looks for that, but I get it. Eric Kendricks, huge pass breakup on that on their drive. Just amazing to see. Cam Dantzler was solid. So the pieces are there on the defense, the run stoppers. Harrison Phillips, Delvin Tomlinson, Hunter and Zadarius Smith were both still flying around today.
Yeah.
Jonathan Bullard had a couple nice plays where his name popped up.
He had that huge run stuff.
Right. And we did all this without Harrison Smith. I know you mentioned it before we started recording here. It's concerning that Lewis Seen wasn't seen on the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian Asamoah had a huge defensive play. DJ Wanham still out there as well. So there's a lot of names we just went through, a lot of talent on this defense, and just I don't know. I think it's scheme, and it's frustrating. It's concerning to me. Everyone thought the defense would be much improved, and it's just I don't know, man.
It feels like the scheme, and yeah, like Ed Donatel for such a hard looking guy, like he just looks like a military sergeant or something like that. Just the way he looks, his defenses are soft, and there's definitely a lack of pass rushing, especially when the first game, you could almost put like our dominance in that game all mostly on our pass rush, even maybe a little bit before Justin Jefferson for that game. And all of a sudden now in the last 2 games, we've pulled the brakes on that big time. It just seems like we're just rushing like 4 every time.
Right.
And especially at the end of the game, I get why, because we were just trying to run out the time, but I still don't like just giving, even if it's Goff, like I just felt like he a lot of the time he just had all day to throw, and he's the guy that if you put pressure on him, he can crumble to that a little bit sometimes.
Right,
so I think that for this game, it was like I felt like you should just throw the pressure on. I mean, you're letting these quarterbacks throw all over you anyways, coming down and scoring. You might as well just fucking rush them and try to stop any of that momentum, even if you do let open one of those big plays. Obviously you don't want that to happen, but you can't play too conservative on defense either.
Right. Yeah, and as you see, Jared Goff, 25-41, 277, 1 touchdown, the interception at the end of the game. I thought he looked pretty comfortable and solid all day long against our defense. The running game, I'm a DeAndre Swift and an Amon-Ra St. Brown fantasy owner, so today was kind of a rough one for that. Obviously, Swift was still dealing with the ankle, but Williams had 87 yards against us and the 2 touchdowns. Receiving wise, Amon-Ra St. Brown still did well. Reynolds and Chark both did well against us too. TJ Hawkinson with the touchdown. The defense is just, I don't know. It's all this is just super concerning to me that we're allowing this much to happen. And Jared Goff, yes, he was a number 1 overall pick. Yes, that Lions offense has a ton of talent, but you're in the first half, especially, you were just letting them have your way with you on defense.
Right.
I don't know, man. No. If this team is going to have success going forward,
we have to figure out the defense.
They're going to need to figure out this defense. And I put a tweet out about it. I said, that might be the first big decision Kevin O'Connell needs to make. Like, if you're being competitive and your defense is allowing this, I don't think they're going to make an in-season change, but you start to question, would they look to replacing their defensive coordinator this season? I don't think it's going to happen. That tweet was kind of just me being like, fired up about how the defense looked. But I do think that it's tough to make that change in the middle of the season, especially after the switch scheme and everything. But it's concerning for sure. To me, it's the most concerning thing about this team right now. I mean, yes, the offense being more consistent early on and being more explosive early on is something that I think eventually will pick up. But the defense, it looks like this is just the scheme we're going to be playing in this year. And I don't know. It's concerning. It's overall, yes, it's concerning to me.
Hopefully we figure it out, because I just felt like it was different against Green Bay, so we'll see. Obviously the other big concerning thing for that was just all the fourth and 1s and 4th and 2s we were allowing, just like every time. Not even just that, but it'd be like 3rd and 8, and then we would allow them just to get to 4th and 1, and then they'd go for it and get it. Luckily for us, it bit them in the ass, although they got a little bit too confident on those 4th downs, and the one that was the most important they failed to get, and is a big reason why we were able to go down and score, so I'll thank them for that. Right. But overall, it's not good to give up it was like 6 out of 8 4th downs or something. That's got to be like on the verge of a record or something.
Yeah, something close.
But yeah, I mean, from there though, obviously defense needs to get better. We just need to pass rush more, play harder, play stronger, and not so soft. It does feel very, very soft. Now going into some special teams stuff, I'll let you start off with a guy that we really liked a lot going into this season and
Yeah.
every game up until this point. And that is Greg Joseph.
Yeah, it was a bad day to be a kicker in this game. Because obviously the Lions kicker missed that field goal
Yeah, that
early
was big.
on. Um, Missed the second. I believe he missed a long field goal at the end. Yeah, actually, the field goal that they shouldn't have kicked at the end there, which was they should have just
Mhm.
probably punted that ball. But thank you, Dan Campbell. But yeah, Greg Joseph missing 2 kicks. Yes, I know they were his career long 56 yarders, but he missed them bad. So that's
Mhm.
a little bit concerning to see. But if you want to talk about the good part, and then of course Jalen Rieger bobbled one of the punt returns. But if you want to talk about the
Mhm.
good things, Ryan Wright 2 weeks in a row might have been the best player on this football team. So that's good to see. That's
Yeah, he's a stud, man.
yeah, flip
And
field
Kine had a couple good kick
returns.
returns as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So,
So there's a lot of things to like, but overall, you'll take the win. You'd love to see the offense be more consistent. That defense, they have a lot of things to figure out. And it's, it doesn't get any easier. The team you're playing, yes, they've struggled in the New Orleans Saints, but it's you're traveling overseas to London. It's going to switch up the schedule. So it'll be interesting. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they need to work on this week for sure. And I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this defensive scheme. Offense, it's all about just rhythm, early on rhythm, moving the
mhm.
ball, and
Mhm.
then sustaining drives is the biggest thing they need to do. And hopefully they can do that going into next week, Saturday morning football or Sunday morning football in London
Mhm.
against the New Orleans
Mhm.
Saints. We'll have coverage for that game throughout this week, as well as our ups and downs for this game coming out tomorrow. We'll see you guys then.
Skol Vikings.